Thank you, friend. All right, welcome everyone to today's date is May 13th, 2025 for the AWX Community Office Hours / meeting, community meeting, whatever we like to call it. I will go ahead and share my screen just to show the agenda. Looks like we have one topic on the agenda today. So before we get to that, I will open the floor to other people for other questions. Otherwise, we'll start fielding this stuff here. Otherwise,
if we're just doing random stuff, can I get someone added to review my PR from last night?
Yeah, which pair is it, Sean?
Sorry.
You're
It
good,
should
man.
be like one of the top three.
Top three? Okay, 1 sec.
I will post it here in a moment. It's
Oh, is this the collection PR?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
I just liked it.
Thank you, sir. I didn't mean to draw on that, so apologies for seeing people draw on the screen.
No worries.
All right. Anything else? I see a couple questions. All right. So I guess we'll start just in general around the changes of the project. I'll let Gundala talk about some of the specifics, but from a technical perspective, which is what I can talk about. The credentials implementation, the new credentialing system has been implemented. So if folks have started messing with that on Devel, feedback for that would be great. We know there are probably issues that we haven't found. So if people are finding stuff, please open that on the specific repository. If it's with a particular credential that's not working, we ask that you open that on AWX-plugins. If it is from the implementation of the credentials system, feel free to open that on AWX itself. What's up, David?
Yeah, talking about credentials real quick, I just wanted to ask, is it either possible or more easily doable now to actually show like what values are being the injectors for all credentials, even built-in ones? Because some of them are not able to be seen even through like the API or any sort of documentation. So it's like you could technically access them if you happen to know the like whatever special variable or environment variable or extra var variable to then be able to utilize it. But it's just super painful when utilizing, like why have them hidden? I just don't see the value.
Okay. As far as adding functionality to view them, that hasn't been added, but we did essentially a like for like, so functionality should not be.
I think you meant just the injector part, not the
Yeah, I'm just talking about the injector.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All injectors, no matter if it's a built-in credential or if it's one that I personally add or whatever, like I want to be able to go to the API and like look up what the injectors are for that credential type.
Yeah, I wanted to speak directly to that. Functionality has not been added for that, so there's no. It's added. No, the answer is no. It has not gotten easier, but feedback is always welcome. Like this is perfect. Like we absolutely would love to hear this, and if this is something we want, we can absolutely try to find a way to do that. I would pose the question though that since we also inject stuff into those vars from the credential form, we might want to think about what do we use by default and maybe surface that, or surface it or not surface it, or surface it in a manner and saying we put this in there for you. Here's the other things you can't use, or if you would like to overwrite, you can.
It's not about overwriting per se. It's about the reason why I usually am trying to do this is I'm trying to use the credential that already exists in AP for whatever, let's say vSphere or something, right? But I need, for some other automation, I need that password, let's say, right, to do something. maybe let's say that the module doesn't do what I needed to do like for it or something. So I'm doing a URI call, but I want to use the same credentials so I don't have to make a new credential that I'm already using. You see what I'm saying? Like to then, so like that's why I want to know what the injector is so then I can utilize the credential, you know, outside of the, you know,
outside
quote,
of its
built-in way of what like that's being
outside
like,
of its like defined
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
I could see why that probably hasn't been implemented yet, given the security concerns around just exposing VARs. But that could also be applied to we expose them at runtime, so they're there for use. So I can see both sides of the coin.
I can see it for not for machine, like the machine.
Yeah, we're not
credentials.
gonna. We will.
No, I meant
that.
because those aren't available at runtime.
Yeah, that will not change. So that's a hard no. But as far as like API stuff, I can see, especially as I've just been working on VMware stuff and vSphere stuff. I can see the use case there. My first answer would always be I'd rather stick it in documentation rather than expose it on the API. But if the API is the preferred route, I would probably ask that you open it. Have you opened this issue before?
I know I've brought it up before. I don't know if there's an issue for it.
Okay, I would do that.
I'd say that if you are wanting to put it in the API, then there's no reason it shouldn't be in the UI. It shouldn't. Bah. If it's in the UI, there's no reason it shouldn't be in the API. And I don't think David has anything against it being in the UI as well.
No, if we stick it in the API, we would just surface it in the UI as well. Well, we would. If we put it in the API, it gives the UI the opportunity to surface it. Whether or not UX decides to do that is another question.
Yep.
But I would also prefer that we do this in documentation as well. That is almost the pure definition of documentation, in my opinion. So if it's the same and if others are doing it and others aren't, that's a standardization problem that we need to address.
Right now, every created one that you make, user created one, is exposed no matter what.
Yep.
And so it's different. So it is a standardization problem.
Okay. Yeah, but for this, David, I would argue open an RFE. And even just sticking on AWX is perfectly fine.
Okay.
And tag me in that, and then I'll surface that to our PMs here as well, because it sounds like a pretty standard use case and something that could be addressed. It might require, who knows, once they start lifting up the covers, what needs to happen, but this sounds like a pretty standard use case in my opinion. Where was I? So credentials, that work has been done. There is more stuff we would like to do for that. But if folks want to help contribute or see problems or want a particular cred somewhere or a plugin or something, we advocate heavily for you to contribute that. I will be upfront. That process is known to have issues, and we are aware of that contribution process. So whilst we want you to, the other part of it is we also want your feedback on the contribution process, in particular to AWX plugins. So there is active work that the team is doing to address problems there. And you can look at some of the PRs we've written, some of the stuff, how long stuff has sat and waited, even when we've been actively contributing and trying to fix it. You can see issues there. So there's plenty of closed PRs that have upwards of 100 to 150 comments on it. So we are aware of that problem. The UI work, I think folks have already been aware that the UI is completely gone from the repository. That it is loaded out from an outside source, but if you build from Devel or if you just run the Docker Compose environment, it will not build it. There are make targets that can help do that. So just if you look at the bottom of the make file, that'll be there, and there should be like a make help/UI or something like that, and that'll build that for you guys there. Or it won't build it; it'll show you the targets. RBAC wise, legacy RBAC I think has been mostly removed and been re-implemented through Django Ansible base. That shouldn't affect anything that implementation should be like for like. There should not see anything aside from role assignments and stuff like that. But that is all, if I recall, similar in functionality. User should not see disruption. It's just we move stuff out to a library. What else is there? Especially the work is progressing. Yeah, I think if like work is progressing. I think similar to the credential work, there's stuff we still want to do and we need to do, especially around creds, especially around RBAC. I think the RBAC stuff is not necessarily net new. It's just cleaning up because it can, if anybody's messed with the RBAC system, it can get kind of hairy real quickly. So timeline wise, Gondolo, I will default to you on this question, and Brian as well if he's here.
Yeah, cheers for the updates on that. I've got a list of some of the other bits we've done. I don't think so. She talked about the credentials inventory stuff. I don't think we've talked. I'm not sure if we talked before that we've got some new feature flags, so we can do install time enablement of new features. So ways of just sort of keeping the updates rolling out without sort of breaking the entire code base. Related to that, we've also put in some shared settings library. Because if you think of like the Ansible platform, there's 30 plus repos or something to make that up, and lots of separate projects. And I was getting a mess. We've also moved to the custom dispatcher. Is now into a shared management solution, and that's part of the Ansible Django framework that we've got. And there's some new analytics stuff in there as well. So as Jake sort of mentioned, all this code is getting merged into the develop branch of AWX, so it's there for people to sort of play around with. I'm not aware of any sort of specific timelines on this stuff. For those of you that have contributed before, it's painful, and as Jake just mentioned, right, so a lot of the Red Hat engineers have got PRs with 100 comments on and still trying to sort of fight through to get this stuff merged in, which is why we're doing all this work. So yeah, no real timelines on any of this, I'm afraid. Apart from I'll obviously reinforce the obvious, like we are working, a lot of people are working very, as their day job on this. Thanks.
One thing I will mention as well is the dispatcher work. If folks are interested in the tasking system, and have wanted to change or affect change or just learn about it, I would highly recommend looking at the new dispatcher work that Alan has been working on. If folks have worked with Alan before or have seen Alan's work, you know how straightforward it can be sometimes, or well thought out. But it's Alan's been very passionate about this, so I will drop that link here as well. But yeah, I think timeline-wise, there's not a lot we can answer right now. A lot of that is purely because next week is Summit, so there is we just can't. I think Douglas gotten kind of the answer to that, and I'll also look to the chat. Any news about the operator? I think Christian answered this in Element yesterday, but I'll go read what he put out there as well. And if folks aren't in Element, please let me know so that you can be, if you'd like to. That's probably the easiest way to do that. Let me see. So there. Let me just copy what he said. I'll just hopefully lift that in. I think he lifted the. I'll see if the links come across. Nope, I meant to copy it. Thank you. These should copy over. This is for, I think if folks have worked around the operator, been around it, this is from Christian Adams. If there's no other questions, I will raise. This is not on the agenda, But this is something. This will also be net new to Gondola as well. Wanted to have a couple conversations. This is probably going to happen after Summit because it's around the repository. But we have had interest in from two folks in wanting to help be maintainers that are outside of the team. So getting those rights and accordingly in doing that, I think is probably a conversation we would like to have, especially since folks are pretty eager to help review stuff. And folks are also eager on submitting stuff as well. Working around rules and what that looks like, we'll probably publish that either in the contributing doc or probably split that out into what that is. That probably coincides with a good rewrite of the contributing doc, especially for adding folks that are outside of the organization. So I would look to that. So if folks would like to contribute or like to be a maintainer, I'm not going to promise anything, but like we'll probably try to publish something to get the review process a little bit better. On the basis of the review process as well, the team's changed how we review stuff. There's a meeting every week that where issues and PRs are reviewed. So how the new system works. So previously we had one every 2 weeks, and now we have one every week. So how it works is that issues are given priority, and then PRs are given one meeting. So if you view a month as 4 weeks, one of those meetings will be PR review, and the other 3 will be issue triage. So that was actually something I put on the agenda like 2 months ago, but didn't say. So here we are. Otherwise, Sean, I think you've already pinged out the PR, but we'll try to get somebody on that. And then I will leave it up. Yeah, Gondola just asked it.
Anyone got any other questions? Feel free to use the raise hand. I think it should be second pop icon on the right, or feel free to chuck a comment in the chat sidebar.
And I also need to log back into the forum. I had to reimage my machine, and I have not checked the forum recently either. That is on me. All right. I'll leave it going. Going once, twice, thrice. All right. Don't know if you'd like to stop the recording. Feel free. I will hang out in here for a little bit. If folks have anything. And I'll also Sean, start looking at your PR as well. But I'll be here.
I'll start the recording. Thanks very much for your time, everyone.
I'll make sure this one also gets posted as well. I know there's a backlog of stuff not getting posted to the YouTube channel, so